Join our family of creators. Your support means the world to us. Subscribe now to the Content Creator channel. Your support keeps us motivated and helps us bring you fresh, exciting content every week. Hit that subscribe button and be part of our journey. Donald Trump's approach to energy was, honestly, a sharp turn from past policies. He called it American energy dominance. This was not just a slogan, it was a clear plan to make the United States the world's top energy producer. The goal was to use America's vast resources of oil. The goal was to use America's vast resources of natural gas. The goal was to use America's vast resources of coal. This strategy aimed to create jobs. This strategy aimed to lower energy prices for consumers and reduce the country's dependence on foreign energy sources. The idea was simple: produce more energy at home. This would give America more power on the world stage. It was a promise to bring back an era of American industrial strength, powered by American fuel. The Trump administration acted quickly to put this vision into practice. From the very beginning, the focus was on removing barriers to energy production. This meant changing rules, and opening up more land for drilling and mining, and opening up more water for offshore drilling. The administration saw many existing regulations as unnecessary burdens on the energy industry. They believed these rules slowed down economic growth without providing significant environmental benefits. So, a key part of the plan was to review and often reverse many environmental protections. This was a direct and intentional shift, designed to unleash the full potential of the fossil fuel sector. This policy shift represented a fundamental change in how the government viewed its role in the energy market. Instead of promoting a transition to renewable energy like wind or solar, the focus moved squarely back to traditional fuels. The administration argued that oil, gas, and coal were reliable and affordable. They were seen as the backbone of the American economy. This perspective was a stark contrast to the growing global consensus on moving away from fossil fuels. The Trump White House made it clear that economic growth, spurred by energy production, was its #1 priority. The concept of energy dominance was also about national security. The argument was that if America produced its own energy, it would not have to rely on other countries. This would make the nation safer and more independent. It would also give the United States more leverage in international negotiations. Being a major exporter of energy would change global power dynamics. America could sell its energy to allies, strengthening those relationships. This bold strategy was designed to reshape America's role in the world, starting with what powers its homes and industries. It was a gamble on the power of fossil fuels to secure America's future. At the heart of Trump's energy plan was really a massive push for more fossil fuel production. The administration took concrete steps to increase the supply of oil, natural gas, and coal. One of the first and most significant actions was to open up more federal lands for drilling and mining leases. A key part of the Trump administration's energy strategy involved a widespread rollback of environmental regulations. The administration argued that many of these rules were too costly for businesses and hindered economic growth. A major target was the Clean Power Plan, a policy from the Obama era. This plan was designed to reduce carbon dioxide emissions from power plants. The Trump administration replaced it with the Affordable Clean Energy Rule. The new rule gave states more power, was less strict. Experts said it would lead to higher emissions compared to the original plan. This was a clear move away from federal control over emissions. Another significant change was the modification of the Endangered Species Act. This landmark law protects animals, plants. The administration introduced changes that allowed economic factors to be considered when deciding whether to protect a species. Previously, these decisions were based only on scientific data. The new rules also made it harder to protect species threatened by climate change. Critics argued this weakened one of the country's most important conservation laws. The administration said the changes were needed to reduce the burden on landowners' industries. Methane emissions were another area of focus. Methane is a powerful greenhouse gas that is often released during oil and gas production. The administration rolled back rules that required energy companies to detect and repair methane leaks. The Trump administration's energy policies had a noticeable impact on the United States economy, particularly the energy sector. Promoting fossil fuel production cutting regulations aimed to create jobs and stimulate activity. Significant increases in oil output and in natural gas output. U.S. crude oil production 2016-2020. The U.S. became the world's top crude oil producer. Job growth in energy states, Texas, North Dakota, Pennsylvania. Jobs in drilling, mining, transportation, manufacturing, construction. Lower energy costs followed. Surge in domestic natural gas production, largely from fracking, helped push down electricity prices for consumers and businesses. Cheaper, abundant energy boosts the economy, reduces factory operating costs, lowers transportation costs, leaves more money for households. The administration cited lower prices as an energy dominance win. Affordable energy equals more competitive American manufacturing. Energy boom improved the U.S. trade balance. So, the Trump administration's focus on fossil fuels and deregulation really raised some serious concerns about the environment. Scientists and environmental groups warned that these policies would lead to increased air pollution and increased water pollution. Rolling back regulations on power plants, vehicles, and oil and gas operations. This included substances like sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and particulate matter, which are all linked to respiratory problems, heart disease, and other health issues. The reversal of clean water rules also opened up smaller streams and wetlands to pollution from industry and agriculture, but probably the most significant environmental concern was the impact on climate change. The administration's policies actively promoted the burning of fossil fuels, which is the primary source of greenhouse gas emissions. By withdrawing from the Paris Agreement on climate change, the United States stepped back from its international commitments to reduce emissions. The America First energy policy had a profound impact on the United States' relationships with other countries. One central and highly publicized move was the decision to withdraw the United States from the Paris Agreement. This international accord signed by nearly every nation was designed to collectively combat climate change. The Trump administration argued that the agreement was unfair to the United States, saying it put an economic burden on the country while allowing other nations like China to continue polluting. This withdrawal really isolated the United States from its allies, positioned it as one of the only countries in the world not participating in the global effort to address climate change. As the United States became a dominant energy exporter, it started to use its energy resources as a tool of foreign policy. The administration promoted exports of American liquefied natural gas, or LNG, to Europe. This was framed as a way to help European allies reduce their dependence on natural gas from Russia. By providing an alternative energy source, the United States aimed to increase its influence in the region and counteract Russian political power. This strategy, sometimes called freedom gas, basically turned energy markets into an arena for geopolitical competition. Many economists and industry experts supported the Trump administration's push for deregulation. They argued the rules put in place by previous administrations were overly burdensome and stifled economic growth. According to this view, regulations acted like a tax on businesses, increasing the cost of producing goods and services. By cutting these red tape costs, the government could free up capital for companies to invest in new projects, hire more workers, expand their operations. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, for instance, frequently praised the administration's efforts, saying it improved business confidence and fostered a better environment for investment. Groups like the American Petroleum Institute highlighted the job creation and economic stimulus that came from the oil and gas boom. They argued a streamlined permitting process was essential for pipelines and for export terminals. This, in turn, generated billions of dollars in economic activity and tax revenue for federal, state, and local governments. The argument was that a strong energy sector creates a ripple effect, supporting steel manufacturing for pipelines and trucking and logistics for transportation. Another key benefit cited by supporters was energy independence and security. On the other side, a vast number of scientists, environmental economists, public health experts strongly criticized Trump's energy policies. The primary concern was the long-term cost of ignoring climate change. The United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, represents the consensus of thousands of scientists. The IPCC repeatedly warned that failing to reduce emissions would lead to catastrophic consequences. Experts said short-term economic gains from deregulation were dwarfed by future costs. More intense hurricanes, wildfires, droughts, rising sea levels. The costs would be measured not just in money, but in lives and livelihoods. Public health experts raised alarms about the immediate human costs from increased pollution. American Lung Association reports Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health Studies linked rollbacks to worse health outcomes. More pollution from power plants and vehicles would lead to higher rates of asthma, heart attacks, premature deaths, especially in communities near industrial sites. Renewable energy was one of the fastest-growing sources of new jobs. Focusing on fossil fuels risked falling behind in the global clean tech race. wind turbines, solar panels, batteries. In summary, Donald Trump's energy policy was a high-stakes gamble. The facts show it was a clear and deliberate bet on fossil fuels. The plan was to achieve American energy dominance by increasing domestic production of oil, gas, coal, while cutting environmental rules. This strategy delivered on some of its promises. The United States did become the world's top oil producer, the world's top gas producer. This created jobs in the energy sector, helped lower energy prices for some consumers, turned the country into a net energy exporter for the first time in generations. These were real and measurable economic gains, particularly for energy-producing regions. However, the facts also show that this gamble came with significant costs and risks. The vast majority of scientists concluded that the policies worsened climate change by increasing greenhouse gas emissions. The rollback of regulations on air pollution, rollback of regulations on water pollution raised serious public health concerns, with experts predicting negative impacts on Americans' health. Ultimately, whether this energy gamble is helping or hurting America depends on the facts you prioritize. If the main goal is maximizing short-term fossil fuel output and reducing the regulatory burden on industry, the policies were a success. But if the goal is to secure a stable climate, protect public health, and invest in the energy economy of the future, the facts indicate the policies moved the country in the opposite direction. It was a trade-off: immediate economic growth in one sector versus long-term environmental and economic risks. The data shows clear wins and clear losses, leaving a deeply divided legacy for the nation's energy future.